Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into the microphone. Why? Well, just because I can, and this time I'll be playing Papers, Please. Now, I was looking for a shorter game, something, less time-consuming in between those big titles, and I remembered this game. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I've never played it. So I thought it might be a good time to finally try it. I know very little about it, apart from the fact that supposedly it has a pretty decent story, because it involves some moral dilemmas, and it's set in a in a totalitarian state where you play a role of a border guard, and there's supposedly choices to be made regarding your conduct, which can result in different endings. And I've also heard it's a pretty brilliant example of an indie game, developed by literally a single person, with a pretty unique, simple but unique mechanic. So I'm definitely eager to see. Oh, apparently it replays if you stand idle for too long. I'm definitely eager to see what's this about. Now, first of all, I must say I'm very much in love with the music already. It's very bombastic and very fitting for it immediately evokes the idea of a well, I must say it's very evocative of a Soviet-style music, but I guess that was the point. Even though I'm not a fan of the Soviets per se, I'm very much a fan of the Soviet anthem, which I find to be one of the coolest sounding national anthems of the world. But enough about that. Now, what I'm a little worried about is, from what I know about the gameplay, it's supposed to be like a reflex-based, so I'm not sure if, because you have to stamp documents and you have to do it quickly, from what I understand, so I'm a little worried about my ability to comment, because obviously English is not my native language, and even if I were speaking in Polish, it might have been difficult, concentrating on two things at once, so there might not be too much commentary, during the actual gameplay, but I'll try to elaborate my thoughts on the story and the game sort of during the downtime, when there's a cutscene or something. Obviously I will try not to speak over dialogue, if there's dialogue in this game, but if there's ever a chance to pause the game or something, then I'll use that to to elaborate my thoughts on the game. But for now, let's finally start the story. Oh. Okay, so day one. Let's go. Congratulations. So apparently I've won a labor lottery. Yeah, so immediately you can see that as a government official you get some incentive in a form of housing for your family, and I'm definitely curious to see how the game will handle your loyalties to the government versus the welfare of your family and some problems like that. I definitely expect it to delve into some pretty heavy subjects, perhaps. Glory to Arstotzka. Well, glory indeed. So, checkpoint opens at last. After 7 years of inactivity. Oh, so apparently the Truth of Arstotzka paper is free, which is definitely curious, although I guess it totally makes sense because it's probably the only newspaper in the country and thus the main tool of propaganda, so I guess it would make sense to distribute it free of charge to as many citizens as you can, you know, thus providing them with their daily dose of state-mandated propaganda. The weather. It just says the weather. The weather is simply what it is. Okay, let's go to work then. So there's the booth. Stamp passport documents with blah blah blah. Entry is restricted to Arstotzkan citizens only. Deny all foreigners, bloody foreigners, coming over here, stealing our jobs, and all that. Glory to Arstotzka, okay. Pay attention to the passport nationality. Okay, so it's supposed to be over here. Inspector booth shutter, so I can close it. I'm not sure if what's that used for, other than, you know, opening the booth for the day. I wonder if I'll have to close it when the workday is done or something. You know, clear the counter and whatever. Rule book, audio transcript, blah blah blah, time and date. Okay. That's just the repeat of today's newspaper. So I think I'll keep this over here, maybe. Let's take a look at this rule book. Ministry of Admission Rules and Regulations. Basic rules. All entrants must have a passport. Arstotzkan citizens only. So that's easy enough, I guess. Although I understand it's going to get more complicated as I go. Obviously, this is just an introductory level. Regional map. Arstotzka over here. So I guess this is the border checkpoint we're at. So we're bordering Kolechia. Wow, that's a lot of information. Issuing cities, so you can only get a passport in a couple of cities. That's interesting because you'd think, especially in a centralized, totalitarian government, I would imagine only the capital would issue passports. But then again, I'm not an expert on this kind of thing. But I wonder, that's a lot of information, you know. You've got all the different districts over here. I wonder if that will ever become relevant, if I will be quizzed on, like, the districts. Like, if I get one wrong, then they are going to fine me, or worse, like, fire me, or kill me even. I imagine that's very much a possibility in a totalitarian state. That definitely, that's definitely something I'm a little afraid of. The amount of complexity it might reach in the end. You've got like different diplomatic seals, so I imagine if a foreign diplomat comes through, you have to look for those. And that's Antegrian passport. Let's see at Kolechia. Now, theoretically, you'd imagine there would be the most Kolechians trying to get through, because that's the closest neighboring country. And again, you've got like different issuing cities and the different seals. Impor, Arstotzka already, Obristan. Yeah, I'm a little, like, I'm not feeling good about it. I hope it never gets too complicated, because then I can easily embarrass myself. And again, this sort of compels me to again mention that I think it might be difficult for me to comment over the gameplay, because if it ever becomes this complicated, I might not be able to concentrate on both those things at once. So I guess I'll just take the beginning of each day when the clock is not running to comment on the most important developments of the previous day. United Federation, blah blah blah. Okay, so I think I looked through them all. Anything else in this rulebook over here? Just the booth in... Oh, so apparently I can get upgrades, presumably later on in the game. Okay, so I think that's all to look through. All entrants must have a passport. Arstotzkan citizens only. That's simple enough, I guess. And here you have the stamps. Is there like a shortcut for this? I don't imagine there is. Well, I think I'm ready, so let's open it and start. Okay, so this one is Arstotzkan. Seems to be current, so you can go in. Glory to Arstotzka. Yeah, because I think I also have to look at the date to see if this one seems to be current as well, but you were a foreigner, so kindly go away. No foreigners in our country. Papers, please. Republia. Freak off. He's waited for 8 hours, but I don't care, because he has a foreigner's passport, and that's the only thing. Arstotzka seems to be current, so you can go in. It was a mistake to open this checkpoint. That definitely sounds a little bit threatening. Import, so a foreigner, so go away. Import, go away. That's an Arstotzkan. The passport seems to be current, so that's a foreigner, so go away. Another foreigner, Kolechia. Foreigner, so no deal. Oh, damn it. That's an Arstotzkan. Seems to be current. You can go in. Oh, is that the end of the workday? Apparently so. So no cleaning your booth after a workday, I gather. And apparently there's like a family management simulator element, because you need to manage your expenses. Apparently I have a wife, a son, a mother-in-law and an uncle living with me. And I can deny them food or heating to save money, which I imagine is going to become important later on when the tasks become more complicated, so I'll be unable to process as many entrants. Now, what's interesting is that it seems that I only have 4 passports, even though there are 5 people living in my house. So does one of us not have a passport? I imagine, if anything, it's probably me who doesn't have a passport, because probably it's being held by the government. You know, I'm stationed at the border, so they might want to prevent me from, from going abroad, from basically turning rogue on the glorious Arstotzka. So maybe they are holding my passport, as a guarantee to preventing that from happening. That was actually a rather common practice in Poland during the communist era. Well, actually, from what I understand, obviously I'm too young to have experienced that, but from what I understand, pretty much nobody had a passport. You had to specifically request a passport, and you were rarely granted one. So, if anything, it's a little bit surprising to see that most of my family apparently has passports already. Although then I guess it's probably no guarantee that you'll be allowed to leave the country even with a passport. Okay, I have a bit of money saved, so I guess they can have food, but I'll take the heating off for a second, for like one day, and maybe alternate it or something, just to save some money, because I imagine it's going to get more expensive as the game goes on, and it's always important to save your money, even in real life, but doubly so during a totalitarian regime, when you might be forced to flee your home or something at one point or another, or there might be war or food shortages or something. So I think that they can manage without heat for one day, but I think that's enough, so let's go to sleep. I think I can do one more day during this episode, so apparently the checkpoint is a success. Entry restrictions to relax, admit foreigners. Oh, that's a that's a surprise that we are going to let those dirty foreigners into our glorious country. Increased trade and cooperation. Okay. From today, foreigners with a valid passport are permitted to enter. Okay. Inspection hardware is now installed. Check all passport information carefully for discrepancies. Deny any entrance with inconsistent information. Okay. So I can highlight 2 pieces of information that's discrepant and interrogate the entrant for the discrepancy, but I'm not sure if that's relevant. If the information is wrong, am I not just supposed to deny them? It's going to be a lot quicker if I just do that, and I doubt the glorious state of Arstotzka cares for any explanation they may have provided. So I'm not sure if I am going to do that. I guess I'll see if if I get reprimanded for not doing that, and then adjust my behavior accordingly. That's still the same. So let's keep this here. Basic rules. Entrants must have a passport. So basically it's pretty much the same. It's just that I can admit foreigners now, provided they have a current passport. So the thing I have to pay most attention to is the date. Well, I think I'm ready, so let's start the day. Okay, this one seems to be current, so you're approved. That's not current actually, so you're denied. That seems to be current, although it says here you're a man, so I'm a little bit... Well, if you say so. Maybe that's just a very masculine female. Oh, apparently I was wrong. Blah blah blah, hurry up. Okay, that seems to be current, so you can go in. Male, blah blah blah. Seems to be current as well. What? We have no time for that. Hello, handsome. Blah 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 blah. This seems to be current. You can go in. I'll take a look at that after the workday, because I need to process some people to earn money for my family. Blah blah blah. Mail seems to be current, so you can go in. What the? Oh, somebody has climbed the fence. Oh my god. That's definitely... Whoa. That was rough. The day was cut short by a terrorist attack. Well, first of all, I must say that was some very inefficient border guarding there, because he had plenty of time. The guard had like a rifle or some other long-ranged weapon, and he only got like 2 shots at the attacker, and it seems he missed both times, or at least he was inefficient enough that he left the attacker alive. So I wonder if that's supposed to signify that, I don't know, he was somehow in on it, but then again it doesn't make sense at all, because he ended up being killed himself. So if he really were in on it, then that's quite a poor reward for his commitment to the cause. But that's definitely going to have some repercussions, a terrorist attack is going to move the public opinion in any country, but especially like in a totalitarian state, I'd imagine they are going to use it as a major propaganda tool to demonize their neighbors. So I wonder how this will result regarding the travel restrictions. But a couple of other things. I got a couple of citations there for making mistakes. And one of them for passing through a person with a discrepancy in gender, because it was a rather feminine person by looks, but had a male signifier in the passport. So, and she said that, you know, it's matching. So, and I got a citation for that. So I guess what that tells me is that I am to disregard what they say and just go by a simple, you know, gut feeling, as it were, you know, the first instinct. And again, I guess it totally makes sense, because it's like the 80s, and Arstotzka does not seem to be the most progressive country in the world. So it's totally viable for them to disregard, you know, things such as transgenderism or something. If they see a person who clearly looks feminine, they wouldn't care what they say. It's a simple, clear-cut case for people like that. So I guess that totally makes sense. But I also got another citation for apparently there was like a wrong issuing city, which confirms one of my earlier fears about the game, you know, actually caring about such minute details. I don't think I'll ever be able to memorize all of the districts and of the various countries, and to be honest, I'm not even sure if I really want to. It doesn't seem like a particularly interesting thing to do for me, so I guess I just have to pray that there are not many such discrepancies throughout the game, and that I can push through even while making an occasional mistake. And now apparently my family is cold, so yeah, I'll have to give them heating on this day, but because the day was cut short, I only processed 4 people, so that has affected my salary quite negatively. So I think that's going to be no food for us this day, and I'm going to like alternate it. It seems to be the most sensible thing to do, because you can see how quickly my savings disappeared because of that workday being cut short, and I definitely have to prepare for things like that in the future. So I think no food today, and then I'm going to alternate it, and this way I'll be able to save some money for emergencies. I also got some kind of a paper from one of the entrants. I think it was like a woman hitting on me or something, so I wonder if that was her phone number or something. I wanted to check it at the end of the day, but I wasn't able to because of the attack, so I wonder if it's going to be still there on the next day. But that's actually enough for this episode, so I'm going to end it here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, and glory to Arstotzka.